Rolls of vinyl are a bit wider than 12 feet, so you can overlap the edges to double cut the seam. The pattern repeats on each side of the roll. Lay out the width of the vinyl in the room and cut the piece you need from the left or right side of the roll to overlap the seam edges. John measures and cuts the vinyl pieces that he'll seam together for this job and lays it out. Here he'll have one long seam and one short seam. He applies glue to the subfloor along the wall and leaves an unglued area about a foot wide along the seam. He's left a similar area unglued along the seam under the vinyl that's already laid. After waiting for the glue to off-gas for about 10 minutes, he lays the vinyl in place over the glued subfloor and makes sure that he overlaps the edges where he'll cut the seam. To create a good seam, line up the top and bottom vinyl patterns and then start cutting with a carpet knife or box cutter. Even if it isn't perfectly straight, when the knife goes through both pieces of vinyl, the edges of the seam are perfectly aligned. He follows the pattern to cut as straight as possible, and then removes the extra strips of cut vinyl. Next, he applies glue to the subfloor underneath both edges of the seam, then waits a few minutes to allow for off-gassing. He runs his hands along the glued area to feel for any irregularities, and to make sure the vinyl contacts the glue. He runs a banana knife along the seam to smooth it out, and then rolls it. He cleans the seam using vinyl cleaner and a cloth, and then applies the seam sealer. Use a sealer for the same brand of vinyl that you're laying, and follow the instructions on the tube. Some need mixing, and some don't.